Item 6, approval of the board, thank you, Sean. Board policies and objectives. There are none tonight, so we'll move to item 7. Approval of the financials, 7.1, resolution approving ratifying bills, authorizing budget transfers, and accepting monthly financial reports. That is covering pages 1 through 14.
So moved.
Second.
Comments or questions? Roll call.
Mr. Anderson?
Aye.
Dr. Kerrigan?
Aye.
Ms. Kashgarian? Aye. Dr. Griffin?
Aye.
Ms. Howland? Aye. Mrs. Olshager? Aye. Ms. Paul? Aye.
Item 7.2, the resolution approving reimbursement of travel, meal, and lodging expenses, which is on page 15, and also the sheet that's at your table with the detail on it. Seek a motion for that as well.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Okay, thank you. All right, comments and questions?
Can I ask our attorney a question on this?
Sure.
So what was in our board packet on page 15 without this detail? Was that correct according to the statute? I mean, it's
The
simple,
statute
yes.
doesn't specifically say exactly what must or must not be contained inside the resolution. It says it must be approved by roll call vote. Generally, there should be a roll call vote. The substance of what's being voted on.
And that was presented in the amount that was,
The gross amount, but not specific.
but there's nothing that says the specifics have to be in it.
It's under. I will say that the statute does not have a lot of clarity on it.
So it started out with page 15 and a board packet, and then it evolved into this page that was given to us at our places tonight. What changed?
Well, there was conversation. We discussed, the pros and cons of the amount of detail that would be shown. And I think the belief was that in order to steer a wide berth away from any kind of claim that we were not being compliant with the statute, it would be as transparent.
And also confusing.
Not confusing, not right.
You didn't try to be confusing, but when I look at this, it's very confusing. And next week or next month, there's going to be another entry on here, actual expenses, because an advance will be reconciled, and now it will look like that individual trustee will have spent twice as much money as they actually did.
I believe that the conversation was that these were expenses that had already been incurred and that they should be put down here when they are incurred, not advances.
Well, there is advances on here.
That we're trying out. The idea was that we would put on there stuff that was already, and expenses that had already been incurred. We talked about the word deposit being used during said, and the question was, are these a deposit in advance of something? I said, no, these are expenses already incurred.
So what I suggest we could do is, if that's the intent, to make sure that that's what happens. This is our first time doing it. If a deposit versus an expense is getting reported here inadvertently, we'll make sure we correct that record.
But none of this seems to have followed the advice we were giving back in November 11 from your law firm that talked only about the amounts and not about the individual trustees.
There is a range of possible things that the board could do. It's unclear from the statute exactly what extent of transparency we have to show in order to comply with the statute. This clearly would comply with the statute.
I discussed it with the chairman, and he had talked about the intent. And my understanding about the intent was the legislator that put this forward, his intent was to bring out which trustees are traveling, which ones are not. And then he couldn't get the votes, so the intent changed so that it was just a generalized statement of a roll call vote of the amount, not the individual trustees. If this continues, I know I'll never travel again for the College of Lake County. I'll resign my position as the Bachelor of Science and Nursing program for the College of Lake County, state of Illinois. This is outrageous that you're individually putting down your name. It's like a walk of shame for what? I took time away from my family, took time away from my job so that I could lose money to do work for the college, and then I get hit here with how much money I spent? I mean, really, that's just, Jim Lumley used to call this the last bastion of treasonous people, and I think he's absolutely right. I find going back to the page 15 that we had before is adequate enough, period.
So that's one person's view.
Yep, it is.
Okay, any other comments?
Yeah, I have a comment. I absolutely love this page because in the spirit of transparency, it gives everyone an idea of the expenditures that the Board of Trustees are incurring.
And any other employee that exceeds the allotted.
That is
beyond
correct.
that would
That
be-
is correct. So I love the transparency, and there should be no shame here. If you are traveling to represent the college for a working cause, then this page just shares that there is expenses to do what we do, and you should be proud to share that with the public. So I see no shame here. I see that transparency is what's called for the private community. You know, when you have a tight budgetary environment, you want to be transparent. And so I love this report, but it would be my opinion to keep it on an individual basis. That would be my opinion.
Okay. Any others?
Councilman's opinion.
I have an opinion too, and I think we need this kind of explicit information. I mean, I think whether the statute is ambiguous or clear, that this does not hurt anything. If everything that people do who travel through college, I didn't go within this time frame, but I've gone other times, and I don't have any problem with anybody seeing how much I spent, and I don't think anyone who's legitimately going to these conferences and spending money that is needed to be spent shouldn't have any problem with this, because everybody knows that the way that we can learn is by going to these environments where we're going to be subjected to sessions that are going to give us more information, just like the reports that come back, where we come back with all this knowledge from people from different environments. I mean, no matter what kind of work you're in, you have to have continuing education, and you have to have the networking that gives you new ideas and also allows you to share your ideas, which then lets your institution be known to other people. So I don't think there's any shame in reporting what this costs. I mean, I'm always happily aware of the fact that this is not our money, that this is the public's money, and we are accountable for every cent. So I think, like everyone else, if we don't have the information that's spelled out, that it's just some gross figure, then we're being asked to vote on something that we have no idea of what it represents.
Okay. Any other comments?
Yeah, I have a couple of comments, or actually a couple of questions first. According to the legislation, when does this actually have to be finalized in place? Isn't it like June or July?
There's two things. One is March 1st, no approval for any expenses not in compliance with the procedures set out in the statute can be made. In other words, you can't spend any money for travel, meal, or lodging after March 1st unless there's a roll call for board members or for employees who exceed the preset amounts. The other date is June 30th. I'm pretty sure it's June 30th, it's 180 days after the enactment of the statute. By then, the college must have the resolution in place and policy in place.
And
The dates make more sense because
when we talk about the resolution, this is what we mean. A resolution has to be in place by next June.
the resolution adopting policy that actually sets out the minimum, the per diem rates for employees, which if exceeded must be approved by roll call.
So at this point, we're being asked to approve this document, but we have not yet put together the policy that needs to be approved by June.
No, the board did approve the policy at the I believe,
February.
February 6th. Good.
with this specificity.
Yes, and in the policy, it sets out, as does the statute, the elements that you have to have in order to, complete a request for reimbursement.
Couple other questions. How are we going to handle the recording of when the reconciliations are done? For an example, I got a travel advance last month. However, I also returned a cashier's check and the amount of almost $400 because I didn't expend what was there. How are we handling that?
I actually have a suggestion on that. And my thought part was that we should only approve the expenses at the end of the process, not both in terms of the advancement, because I believe it is confusing to say, this is an advancement, and then later on say, but this is the expense, and we deducted this amount for this reason. It should be approved, it can be approved when the expense has been actually finalized. You don't have to approve the
So do we know how this changed? That advance has got on here?
In all candor, my understanding was that they weren't advances. I thought that they were actual payments. If they were, then I think that's an accurate, that would be confusing. We should
Next one is going to be the same.
It says advance, but let me ask a question. How long does an employee or board of trustees would have to reconcile that advance with the actual expenditures?
As soon as possible.
So there's no hard rule as far as you have 30 days. I know there is some outstanding advances. Is there like 90 days or what does that mean as soon as possible?
Within 30 days is what I'd like to see.
So is it written
Yeah,
don't have
I think
that.
policies
I think it's
are-
supposed to be 10 days after travel.
10 days after travel? I know that's not being followed.
No, it isn't.
So-
By me.
So how do we, I mean, what do we do with that? Is as soon as possible, 10 days after travel, 30 days?
Well, that's not the question. The question on the table is just, we should.
Well, we're gonna put,
If
we're
you
gonna
want to
put
talk
the word
more about that,
advance.
we can do that.
If
I'm
we're gonna
happy to.
put- if we're gonna put the word advance on here, or we're gonna not put advance, then there should be some kind of reconciliation as far as the advance, money going out of the college versus the money coming back in from a reconciliation standpoint. Is that, I mean, I know I'm being a little bit more technical than I really want to, but I'm just so that we can have a clearer picture if there is an advance, but the advance is still outstanding, but the expense has occurred. I mean, how does that get reconciled?
Because
The accounting department reconciles that for each individual employee takes an advance and goes on a trip. There's after the review, reconciles that.
So after 10 days, if the money has not been repaid, how is that handled?
Connie, I suspect your staff, 30 days, 40 days, and they're probably not the very next day, but there's a routine that they're following to make sure employees get their paperwork in and get it closed up.
I understand that what Linda is raising is no problem for not putting advances on the books, because it's money that is out the door.
Out the door.
Yeah, and I don't think there's anything unclear about the word advance. So I don't know what the problem is, and I think it's ridiculous to spend all this time worrying about our individual expenses. We should move on to the rest of the agenda and finish this.
Yes.
Funny you think it's ridiculous, but you're the one that called meetings to change this from last Friday. I mean, this is crazy. Next month, my name's going to be on there, and it's going to be the same amount of money, and it's going to be what I spent. And they're going to say, oh, last month you spent the same amount. It's just crazy, but
I
you can go back. Barb, do you have any more questions?
Yes, I wasn't finished.
Go ahead.
Continue. Yeah, this was the third revision that I think I've gotten since I received my board packet. And the last revision, I wasn't even able to open, but anyway, let me continue on here. I know the Illinois Community College Trustees Association had several trainings on this, which I attended all of them, which was done by the firm, and I think they did a great job. one of the folks from your firm referred to this piece of legislation as the gotcha piece, because it's a very, very complex, and at some point in time, some community college in the state is going to do it wrong or whatever, but it's being referred to as the gotcha bill. My understanding when we first were receiving training on this, that it applied to not only trustees, but also all employees of the institution. Is that correct?
It applies to the employees of the institution to the extent that if their expenses exceed per diems that have been established by board policy,
Gotcha.
then they must be declared.
Gotcha. And, I certainly can see that, may happen. So are we also suggesting that if an employee's expenses exceed whatever, they would be part of a list as well?
However the board decides to show the expenses, there will be no basis to distinguish expenses incurred by a board member versus expenses incurred by an employee, which exceeded 3 years.
So if we go with what's being suggested here, then any employee who exceeds that per diem or whatever the amount established now, they would also be on the list. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Where my rub comes with this is I've got a resolution in front of me that I'm being asked to approve, and it almost seems self-serving. I'm on here, so I'm being asked to approve my own expenses. When it was part of the bigger bills list and included all employees, that made sense to me. To me right now, this does not make sense to me. Rich Anderson is being asked to approve his own expenses. Bill's being asked to approve his own expenses. Amanda's being asked to approve her own expenses. And I'm being asked to approve my own expenses. I don't think I can go on record saying, oh, our ghostwriter at the College of Lake County just approved her own expenses for travel. There's got to be a better way to do this. And might I add that if the rest of the trustees approve their own expenses, I think we're just opening up well, I see Mr. Susnahara there in the audience. I can just see headline, community college trustees approve their own expenses. In reality, we do anyway as part of the bigger bill list, but this is now singling it out, and there's got to be a better way. Thoughts?
I agree with Barb in terms of confusion. The first iteration that I got with my board book, I looked at it and I thought, this doesn't make any sense. I've got these numbers here. Are they saying this is total for a month? Is this total that we're only allowed to spend? It honestly didn't make any sense. The second iteration that we got via an email, again, was still confusing, and then we got a third notice that we were going to have this at a place tonight to look at, and this is still confusing because it's only covering one period of time and one group of people, and we don't know. I don't have any problem with people taking a look at my expenses for when I travel. That makes no difference to me whatsoever. But it is, like Barb said, how are we, unless we're going to fight among each other about who spent what on what, how are we approving our own travel?
The only thing I can say is, one, the legislature didn't address that question. Two, there is no legal conflict in doing it. And three, as Barbara pointed out, and she's right, you do approve your own expenses anyway. It's always included in the financial
Well, and I
reports.
know this came about because of a lot of what happened at College of DuPage and some of the things that went on, and the legislators got all up in an uproar, and the colleges who were doing things that they should have been doing all along are the ones now that are getting, held over the coals and saying, well, this is what we're going to do to you, even though you were doing things that were okay all along and didn't have a problem.
Which is why I don't I don't have an issue with approving the totality, just for the simple fact that, you know, that's the bill running for the college. But when we single out ourselves, and then we turn around and do a separate resolution, I'm not inclined to be on the record to approve my own travel expenses.
Well, Bob, they've changed now with the, and I don't want to belabor the point, I think we need to move on too and get to the rest of the agenda. But the whole thing that came out of the College of DuPage issue was that the state actually mandated what boards have to follow in terms of per diem travel expenses, which really wasn't there before. I mean, we didn't have a set amount, we had guidelines. Now, it seems to me that they've pretty much tightened that up. So unless we go over that amount, there isn't a problem. It's only if you go over that amount.
It's still up to the individual boards as to the expenses, how much they want.
I just know that they've put a lot more language in there than what was there before, and they've made an actual statute that everybody's supposed to comply with, that didn't exist prior to the debacle that happened at the other college.
Is there a way for maybe us to go back and take these other things into consideration, seeing as how we don't really need to do it till June, and come back with something that isn't a conflict for us?
We could certainly talk about it some more. And I'm going to call the question. Roll call.
Mr. Anderson?
No.
Dr. Kerrigan?
Oh.
Ms. Kashkarian? Dr. Griffin?
Aye.
Ms. Howland?
I
Mrs. O'Shauger?
No,
Ms. Paul?
absolutely.
We could certainly look at it some more.